Hey guys. Hey, I know it's been a hot minute since I've been live. I want to thank you all for being here, coming in. And my camera is wonky today. Sorry. All right. I'm not going to be able to say hi to everybody. There's a few things I want to say before we get to our special guest. Again, thank you all for being here. I replied to every one of your comments on the video. I wrote down even the suggestions a lot of y'all had, and I'm going to be working those into my list so we can get those in there and you can get what you wanted. Now, first thing, behind me, this is number 2 that Panda did. So I'm going to show you real quick. Panda will be setting up a Etsy store with the pattern that we made for this. And it is very beginner friendly. And once we get that set up, then we will let you all know. And there was a few other things. I can't remember what. Oh, the format of how we're going to do this. 15 minutes in, we're going to do one drawing. At 30 minutes, 2 people have donated gifts. So we're going to do those 2 at 30 minutes. And then at 50 minutes in, towards the end, we'll do the last drawing off the comment picker. So with that said, that's really it. So I didn't need that long. Let's get into who this special guest is. Need my
Hi.
headset.
That is such a cute intro. Thank you.
I knew you'd like it.
Well, yeah, it's my brethren.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? How is everybody in the chat? I can't actually see the chat. I apologize, but I hope all of you are doing fabulously.
Everybody's saying hi and hi. Hi, Greg. Hi, Fiber
Hi.
Spider. Yes. It's going a little bit faster than I expected, but yeah.
See, that is why I stopped doing. Well, one of the reasons why I stopped doing lives on my channel is because I was just like, it was so hard to keep up with everything, and I felt guilty and bad that I couldn't respond to everybody, and it was very frenetic and very overwhelming. And so, I mean, I totally appreciate everybody, but at the same time, like, my little arachnid brain can only process so much so fast, and I get overwhelmed easily, which is why I like stitching so much, because it's a way of grounding and slowing down, as opposed to everything is so high paced and blah. I'm sure that at least somebody here can relate. Somebody here.
Oh yeah.
Because it's a way for us to I mean, there's even like sewing that is called slow stitching, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's nice to be able to produce something, but it's not always the destination, it's the journey, so
Exactly. Like when my very first stream, I had 100 people in there on my first one, and I have anxiety issues, and I take a pill for that, but you got this little eyeball in your top of your screen just staring at you, telling how many people are staring at you. And it does get to you at times.
Well, it's like an episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Do you know that show?
Yes, I've seen it. I've seen all the the one I really liked though was the Star Trek one that they did.
See, I never saw that one. The one that sticks with me most, I think, is where you're one of 2 people in the society. You either ride a bicycle or you clean up. It's like one or the other. And so if you're powering, you're pedaling this bicycle to basically produce electricity for, credits, and you can spend credits for like toothpaste and food, but you have to keep pedaling, pedaling, pedaling.
Yes.
And if you earn enough of these credits, you have the opportunity to basically go on the equivalent to America's Got Talent. And if you've got talent, then you can become in the upper echelon of society. But it just, that's what, that resonated with me most. That, and also the one where, like, based on, okay, it was sort of like uh, uh, um, sort of social media networking and so forth, but like your likes and your dislikes
Mm.
were visible to everybody. And if you had too many dislikes, then you like couldn't get like a good credit rating, and you couldn't get into like a certain, development for a new home, or you couldn't get a certain job. It was all about
Yes.
like you had to be perfect on the outside, no matter how rotten you were on the inside. You had to be perfect on the outside in order to, advance. And it was just like, it was so warped, but that was a brilliant show.
Well, there was trying to think of the name of it. It was a Fox. It was Seth MacFarlane's version of Star Trek. The Orville. They did
I
a
know
show.
of it. I know
They
of it.
they did an episode or something like that. It was social points or something like that. And if you got to so low, you had to go to court, fight for yourself, and it meant you were going to prison or the other thing that we're
Well,
not going to say out to you.
the funny thing though is that when I think of Black Mirror, we will talk about other things, people. Don't worry. There are going to be plenty of tangents. Don't worry. But Black Mirror, it's sort of like a technology-focused Twilight Zone,
Mm.
because each was its own little universe, beginning, middle, end. They weren't connected necessarily, but it was all about how technology, as useful and as fabulous as it is, it also can be used for extremely nefarious dystopian purposes. And the thing is that one of the episodes with my absolute favorite, Burgess Meredith, was the obsolete man. Everybody talks about Time Enough at Last, where he's a bookworm and he loses his glasses, and there was time now. I mean, yeah, that was a classic episode. Don't get me wrong, but the one where it was the obsolete man, he lived in this dystopian, futuristic setting where everybody had to have a function for the state, and before that happened, he was a librarian. And in this futuristic dystopian, there are no librarians, there are no books, there's no reason to have books or librarians, therefore he is obsolete. Leaking AI, Michael's bamboo yard.
Oh goodness.
But so he was construed as obsolete. Therefore, he needed to be eliminated. And he's like, oh, okay, sure, but under my terms. And he basically played a trick on the dictator, and it ended up biting the dictator in the end.
Mhm.
Like, he got his own just desserts, because that's the thing about librarians. They're smart. It's like,
They
you're
really
messing with
are.
the wrong person.
Yes. So I didn't open it.
Oh, happy birthday.
So you want me to go ahead and open it now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
And thank you for being patient. I know it's never an easy thing. I go
Oh,
through
it
it
is so.
myself.
I can't. When I get Panda a Christmas gift, and if I get it in November, that's when he's getting it, because I can't keep a secret. And it's the whole. I guess the anxiety in me is like, nope, just give it to him now, because you're not gonna keep it.
I totally get it.
Oh my gosh!
Please tell me you don't have it.
I don't.
Win.
Oh my goodness!
Well,
Emma Guru me.
because I have that, and I absolutely loved it. And actually, that was how I created my little icon. I don't know what happened to him though. He got lost in the shuffle, but I created a little mini me, and it's great because it
Gosh.
shows you how to make all these different kinds of, people with hairstyles and outfits and expressions and the whole 9 yards. It's really comprehensive. It's easy to do. And I thought you might get a kick out of it because I saw on your Amazon wish list you had tons of amigurumi books,
Well, yeah.
but I didn't see that one, so I thought,
Well, because I was wanting to get an idea of how to do that in Tunisian. So I was like, okay, if I can get different books, different teaching styles, that would help me understand. Because I don't like nothing against other Tunisian crocheters. I just don't watch them. But I just need
I
one.
get that.
Thank you, Sam, for the 10 memberships. And Denise, thank you for joining. Oh my goodness, you guys. Wow. But I kind of wanted them to get the idea of how I could be able to do it. You know? Sorry.
I mean, they don't actually show you how to make, Pee Wee Herman and Mr. T and Tina Turner and so forth. They don't show you how to actually make those specific peoples, but there's all the components, like bigger noses, smaller ears, high tops, cardigans, and so on and so forth. Oh, naughty. That's
I
sweet of you.
know. Let me play something for them real quick.
Yeah.
I have stuff made for all that. And this is those who just joined and got the memberships. And this is for those who gifted the memberships. Sam
You are
and
so tech
Naughty.
savvy.
I try to be.
I especially loved the panda doing, the little jiggy in the corner there. That's hysterical.
Nah, I did it because of Panda.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, that blanket is incredible.
We did the actual just graph first, and he crocheted it up. He did it. It's Tunisian simple stitch, and while he was doing it, he was writing it down, how many of each row, what color, everything. And then the second one, which is this one, which he did for me, because my colors, I mean, we both love orange and blue, but he's plus panda, so he's like, you can have me. And he just went by what he wrote down, so that way we knew the pattern worked. And then we wrote it up and beginner style, beginner friendly. And now we're just getting the Etsy. He's going to be doing a few more of the ones that I've already done. And go from there. I mean, it's a start.
Got a suggestion. Something with bamboo in it as well.
Oh, I've got a lot of bamboo over here.
It's like something like some sort of like bamboo-y type thing with the panda.
Oh, or the bamboo stitch itself.
Ooh, there you go. Creative minds are a dangerous playground.
Well, that's been our text messages for the past month.
Touche.
So I saw that you're getting more into a Tunisian kick. What spurred that?
You did.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, wow. Okay. I know you said that, but I thought you were just pulling my leg.
No.
Wow.
Okay, like little heart. It's right here.
Wow.
I'm very transparent, to a fault. But no, you got me interested in it again, because I had done it, many, many moons ago. One of my first full queen-sized blankets, I think I mentioned this, that I did, it was Tunisian, simple stitch, and it was done with itty bitty little squares, about yay big.
Oh.
And on every other square, I did a Celtic knot that I embroidered
Ooh.
in, every other one. Now, the thing is, I didn't understand yarn weights, nor did I understand dye lots. So I was using the antique white in Pound of Love, and I was using Caron 1 pound as my two different yarns, which are two very different weights. And so
Oh, thank you, Nancy.
there was a lot of buckling going on. And also, since I didn't understand dye lots, I had different dye lots of the Pound of Love going on. So it was like there was like creamier, whiter, it was a little splotchy, but I didn't understand anything about dye lots. I'm like, that's weird. It's the same yarn.
We just
and
went
also,
through that.
And on top of that, I didn't know about the finishing bind off edge either. So I did all those hundreds and hundreds of squares with no bind off, but I just went with it because I didn't know any better. And it was like a queen size. And I did that years ago. And, I had done some Tunisian tutorials previously, maybe a couple years back, but you kind of got me interested again. So I've been getting jiggy with it,
Okay. I see. I started now 13 years ago, and I'm trying to think of when's the last time I actually really crocheted something like with a regular crochet. And
like a hook hook.
That's just a border. That's all I've done since then in regular crochet is just a border. Because there's some blankets I like when I made my niece's baby blanket. I wanted a ruffled edge, but of course you're not going to get that in Tunisian unless you really fudge it.
Well, and you go crazy with the chaining.
Yeah, exactly, and that creates hazards for a baby. And so I all I did is just did double crochets, 3 in each loop, and that created the ruffle look I was going for. So that's the only time I ever do regular crochet. I just love Tunisian. There's like I have over 380 stitches, and I've only taught 30 of them. So there's a lot coming.
Well, good. But no, you were the one who, sort of got me back on the on the kick. And actually, well, I've got I showed you the shawl that I started like just yesterday, day before, or whatever. I showed you that. You know about that. That's probably going to be this upcoming weekend. So I'm not doing no spoilers. I'm sorry, peoples. But Michael, so that one's going to be this upcoming weekend, and then I'm also doing another crocheted piece. I'll let you guys know. It's a poncho. And when I get more progress done on that, I'll send you a sneak preview on that one. But that's one of the things that I love so much about stitch work is diversifying. It's not for everybody. I get that, but I love diversifying where it's knitting or crocheting or Tunisian crocheting or embroidery work or, my mind wanders, it meanders, it takes fun little jaunts through the
Russ.
stratosphere. Russ is here?
Russ is here.
Hey, boom. Russ. Hello. Aren't you at work right now, dude?
I know, right?
Does your boss know? My goodness. But I love being diversified. And the thing is that some people really like it. Some people are like, yeah, that's nice, but I don't do that. And sorry, I understand perfectly well that you can't please everybody. I get that, no matter what you do, somebody's always going to be like, me, And
Yeah.
that's okay, because it's, not everything is for everybody. But my thing is, and it always has been, enlighten, educate, entertain. And, you know, for me to for me to not get personally bored, I love variety. I love the spice of life. I love to branch out and try new things.
Oh
And
yeah.
so that's why I always have multiple projects going at any given time. That's why I like branching out into different things on the channel, because I don't want to pigeonhole myself.
Hmm.
Not saying that you're pigeonholing yourself into Tunisian, not by any means. It's just me and my personal decision
Hmm.
not to be too specific, because I like the flexibility and the leeway that I give myself, where I'm like, well, if I'm not feeling like in a, a Tunisian state of mind, well, then I can do something else this week.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
I'm very
Thank you,
fluid.
Michi. Well, and like for me with Tunisian, like I said, I've been doing it for 30. I don't get bored with it. There's so many possibilities that, and then of course being told, hey, you can convert my entire library, to Tunisian. Now the possibilities got bigger, you know.
Mhm.
So my mind's always going, and you know that we talked.
Mhm.
But I need to take a minute so we can do
Yeah,
the first giveaway. Let's see, where's this go? Share screen. I got to pull up the actual thingamajig.
the Whoozy Wetsits, the doodad.
Share screen. I don't even know which one it is. There it is. Share this. Hopefully that's big enough. I'm going to go here. I already got. The heck happened there? Oh, I got to refresh because I was testing it. Okay. Got it. I got to get the video again. Darn it. Where did the video go? Sorry, technical weird
No
stuff
worries.
because Michael messed up. I thought I'd be smart and have it all ready to go, you know?
You're doing fine. Like I
Okay.
said, you got a lot of technological wizardry going on. You're making me look very lowbrow in my abilities with my videos.
I don't know. Like, I enjoy it. And let's see, that is the right, okay. Get comments. 96 unique comments. Let's make that large so everybody can see it. And we're going to pick the first winner for my first box of merch with mystery pack yarn. And it's Sherry Knowles. So
Congratulations, Sherry.
Sherry, just we can message. You can message me your address, and then I'll send it to you. And let me quit sharing. Stop sharing. And there we go on that one. Let me refresh so I don't. Sorry, my camera was in the way. I look like a moron leaning over, but I got two screens, so.
You're doing fine.
But no, I mean, I've seen what you've been working on, and it looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Even the other stuff you send me. And again, Michi, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Like the stuff, I know it's like I can keep secrets for that on other people, but when it's my stuff trying to give to some, I can't keep a secret. But I can. Your stuff is always going to be safe. But it's like it's beautiful work. Like the way you work, the way you just do everything. Your voice, your demeanor, everything. You were actually the second crochet channel I started following. The first was Bag a Day.
This is your birthday. You're not supposed to make
And
me feel weird.
Zoila, my email is changed. I'm not using that one no more. I actually got an MDL crochet at att.net. We're paying for AT&T and they give us free emails, so might as well use it, right? But no, you were a lot of people, you were one of their first ones that they started following. And there's a lot of people that, especially a lot of us creators, that owe you a lot. Because like I take when I'm doing my tutorials, how your calm and demeanor, and that's what I actually took from your channel. I watched before I started doing it. I took a lot of I did a lot of research of how I wanted my channel to look, how I wanted my tutorials to look, and not have and have. And yours was one of the ones that, with the calmness, the demeanor, everything, is what I took from yours, because I noticed how people responded, and it's just relaxing.
You're a thief. You charlatan.
But yes,
you dirty little harridan. You're nothing but a strumpet, and we all know it.
And
no, I love you.
But there's other aspects I pulled from other teachers as well, because I saw what worked, what didn't, and I also blended in what I was looking for when I was learning. 13 years ago, there was nothing.
Yeah.
And what would I have wanted to look for whenever I was brand new to Tunisian? And that's what I've kind of incorporated all of that all in together.
Like when I first started crocheting, like 25 years ago ish, there was nothing. There was a blank void of nothing. And so it was like, okay, books, and more books, and a lot of experimenting, a lot of frogging, a lot of trial and error. But as far as YouTube, it was like, it was a void. And then I discovered Mikey from the Crochet Crowd, and he definitely helped in those early days for me, way before I thought of even doing YouTube. I guess through watching those videos, I did similarly to what you did, which is, sort of be like, okay, well, I like this element, I don't like this element. I mean, my tutorials themselves, they've changed over the years. Eventually, I found sort of like that, like clicking sweet spot where keep the background very neutral and non-distracting. Don't put any music on other than the intro, outro. And to those that do, that's fine if they like that. But me, I find it distracting.
I do too.
And it doesn't add to it. Actually, it takes away, in my personal opinion. And it's not even just crocheting tutorials. Like if I'm watching somebody doing origami or cooking, it's like, no, I want to hear your voice. I don't want to hear the music. I don't want to see the constant pop-ups of, hit like, hit subscribe, like every 5 seconds with a ding, ding. I don't need to see that. And I just want to see the person doing what I'm trying to get out of it. Like I don't need bells and whistles. So that's why I don't add them in my videos. I just want to get to the meat and the potatoes, and, go at what I think of as a reasonable pace, skip the stuff that is strictly redundant. I like to be thorough, but not redundant.
Yes.
And I like to give a repeat or two, depending upon the complexity, so that people get a feel for what it is that they're doing. Throw in some timestamps, put the links, and boom. That's my usual format.
See, I still got to figure out the timestamp thing. I played with it. Infinitely Zero Nessa showed me how to do it, and I kept forgetting after that.
Oh, it's super easy. It's super easy.
I don't use the intro and then the outro, and then I have little blurbs. If it's important, it's the red blurb or little thing that comes across, and it'll say what I'm wanting to get off. That way, it reiterates it, because I know some people.
See, that's different though. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's different. That is like a cliff note. That is something that is pertinent. That's not a self plug. That's not, that is something. It's like, no, this is like a little post-it note. This is something that's going to help you. That's supplementary. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
that's not taking away. That's adding to.
and then like and then there's like the like and subscribe thing. I do that after we've already worked up the swatch. I've already talked about it, showed the stretchiness, showed the back, and
That's
then it'd be
different.
like, of course the only music is my intro and outro, and that's it. I like to do several rows of the stitch regardless, because I treat it as true beginners that have no clue about Tunisian, especially if it's one of the more complicated stitches like the star stitch. That requires several rows to do, so that way because I don't I didn't like whenever I was looking at a few stitches to make sure I learned them right, having to rewind that 33-minute thing to see if I did it right. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so I was like, yeah,
Well,
I'm not
see,
doing that.
actually, that was you know what? It's that problem that actually pushed me to go into like an extended, thorough tutorial. For me, it was like for like the first time. It was when I did the virus shawl,
Mm-hmm.
and because I had seen a bunch of people doing it, and I was like, well, this is cool, but you're leaving us, like prematurely. It's like I have separation anxiety. I'm like, no, I need more, I need
You
more
abandoned me.
snuggles. Right. It's like, no, okay, you fed me just enough, but I need more than an aperitif. I need more. And so that's why when I did my tutorial, I did like a bunch, like I did like a repeat or two.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it, kind of thing. And I think that just seemed like the right thing to do. And it was that video that was like my first like
Yeah.
video. And because when I shot that, that's when the virus shawl was like really popular. And I thought this is a really cool piece, but I wanted to go just a little bit further. And I think that that's what really, was sort of like my I'm not going to say viral moment. I don't think I've ever had one of those. Um, but that was sort of like my like, aha light bulb, like, this I'm here. Hi, kind of
Yeah.
things. And that was like sort of like, what got me like really rolling. And then since then it's just like, okay, that worked, And then when I did the granny kaleidoscope blanket, that was a kick in the pants for me, because I did the initial video and I was happy with it, but there were a lot of comments that were like, yeah, no, we need more. So then I did like a whole crochet along for like multiple tiers, going from the center, add another tier, add another tier, add another tier. And I tried to do that with the corner to corner kaleidoscope. Even though I went pretty far with that, I still got some complaints about that, but I really tried to go that extra mile.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the extra mile. Yeah, it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of time, but it's worth it.
Yeah. So what's your idea? What is your stance on,
Mm.
because you're right-handed, right?
Yes.
What's your stance on flipping it to make it for left-handed, a video?
Okay, do you mean like just flipping the video?
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with it.
Okay. See, like for me, I don't want to do that. I want to learn it left-handed so I can actually see and feel the struggle
Right.
that left-handeds go through, and I can teach it better.
Well, it's not a struggle for them because they're left-handed.
But they're trying to learn from a right-handed person.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but see, I don't see anything necessarily wrong with just flipping the footage. I don't. Um, it's okay. It's kind of a cheesy hack, but if it works, I don't necessarily see anything wrong with it. Now, when I've gotten asked, and I do get asked, I'm lefty, what do I do? And my answer, which again is kind of a cheesy hack, is just put a mirror next to your screen and watch the mirror. That way, a cheesy hack for a cheesy hack, but I mean that I
Yeah.
think it's a great way of sort of killing two birds with one stone. Sorry, birdies. Um, um, if you can just flip the footage. I've never done it. That's not to say I will never do it, but I haven't. I've never done it. I've just always told people just watch a mirror. Um, you know, uh, but no, I think it's perfectly acceptable. I see
Okay.
nothing wrong with that
I
because there are a
was
lot of lefties out there. It's
there.
true.
Yeah, there are. But like I said, I wanted to, because I know they go through a little bit of a struggle to learn from a right-handed person. You know, that's why I do think it's very slow. Plus, we have a bunch of visually impaired people, so I'm very descriptive,
Mm,
so that way they can at least know what I'm talking about, feel
hmm.
for it, etc.
Yeah.
I try to do that.
I understand because I do get a lot of comments from visually impaired people as well. And they're like, yeah, I just listened to you and I got it. And I'm like, really? I didn't
Yeah.
think I was that descriptive, but I guess. Um, but I always say, if it works, work it, go for it. Um, that's why I'm like, it doesn't have to be like a specific yarn or a specific hook. It's like, no, if you get the desired results, go for it. And sometimes I do encounter that issue when watching somebody who knits with the yarn in their left hand, and I always knit with the yarn in my right hand. And so I do encounter that difficulty. It's not often because also I can understand the gist of what it is that they're doing because it's the same stitch. It's just how they pick up that stitch that's a little bit different. So
Mhm.
I can read between the lines. It's not that difficult for me. My brain works in mysterious ways. Um, I'm like a U2 song. Um, uh, but yeah,
Exact. Well, I need to do another little drawing.
go for it.
This one's
You do you, boo.
different.
This is your stream. I'm just
We're
here for
gonna
the
do
ride.
this 2 times in a row. So everybody who's been chatting, I am gonna do the Nightbot winner pick. All right, here we go.
Go for it.
Let's see who it's going to pick. And this is for Michi's Stanley cake. Well, Michi, you won your own Stanley cake.
Oh, the irony.
Oh.
You can't make
Okay.
this up.
All right, one more. Let's see.
Can't make it up.
Wow. Here we go. We're going back for the Stanley cake. Bertha. Bertha, you'll email me on the email scrolling down at the bottom, and with your address, your name, and I'll forward that over to Michi.
Congratulations, Bertha.
Now the second thing is from Sherry Knowles. This is a sample, and it comes with, I wrote it all down,
Tea bags.
handmade stitch markers, stickers, a towel with topper, scrubby, hat tags, and tea bags. And
Nice.
we'll do another Nightbot pick for that. I'm going to re-roll that one because Panda doesn't win anything. Unless he wants it.
I don't know why I just got this image in my head. There was an old TV show in the 80s, Max Headroom.
I'm going to say... Okay, he's saying rigged. So we're saying...
What?
Yeah, I remember Max Headroom.
And no, it's just because you're all being all tech and clickety clackety, and I think it was Chris O'Donnell was like this super smart tech wizard, and he was always on his computer, and I just got this image in my head. Don't ask me why.
All right, Lisa, you'll email me at the email address scrolling on the screen. You'll give me your address and your name and everything, and I'll forward that to Sherry. All right. Last box will be done here in
like 10 minutes?
15 minutes. But next hedger. Oh my gosh, that brought back memories. Pepsi commercials.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then there was that weird hack that happened with a TV station. Somebody's wearing a Max Headroom mask, and they hacked a TV station, and they took over for like a minute. It was really weird and cryptic. That was like a creepy pasta back before creepy was pasta.
Right.
But there was one part where I think it was the lead actor that was Max Headroom and Chris O'Connelly. They were communicating like this in binary. They were doing dash dot dot dash dot dot dash, and they were like having like a full conversation in binary. I was like, or a remote control roach that was a surveillance. Like it was a bug that was actually a bug. It was like it had a little camera, and it was like remote controlled, and it was like I was an 80s child. I watched a lot of TV.
Well, I watched a decent amount, but I lived with my grandmother because she was alone, and I was her favorite, so I lived with her, so I watched a lot of old people shows.
Well, hey, I understand. Whenever I would visit my grandparents as a kid, The Price was Right was always on. It didn't matter what time of day it was just always on.
Well, like or Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, the game shows. Yeah.
And what was that? Knots Landing and Dallas and oh my gosh. I always looked forward because I got a little bit of time when I got home from school to watch. It was Reading Rainbow.
Mm-hmm. See you next time.
Ghost Rider.
I remember that.
I didn't really get to watch too much else. And then if I wanted to watch cartoons on Saturday morning, I had to wake up early.
Did you remember? It was also a PBS show. It was called MathNet. No, not sorry, Square One. MathNet was on it, but it was a show called Square One, and it was all like math-related thingies. And MathNet was like Dragnet, and instead of guns, they had calculators.
Yes.
You remember that? I was trying to explain it to a coworker just like Saturday, and they're like, "What kind of crack are you smoking?" I'm like, "No, it was a thing. It was an actual show."
It was they had some really, really, like, I know it was supposed to be corny for kids, but you learned a lot.
Yeah.
Like MathNet, and there was
where
the world is.
It was a little like Pac-Man guy. Mathman, looking for prime numbers. Mathman. Right? And the thing is that there was a video game back in that time period. There was a video game called Number Crunchers. And it was like, there was like, you were a little like froggy dude, and you would pick a direction which way to go to like, get like, a certain fraction or something like that. And then you would, eat it, and, you're successful. And then there was like these purple blobby things that would eat you if you picked the wrong thing. I mean, this is DOS. This is going way back. Pre-internet. Not even dial-up was available at the time.
Commodore.
Yeah, exactly. Commodore 64 was my first home computer.
That was mine too.
Load, 8,1, asterisk. Right? Yeah, when floppy disks were actually floppy.
You had Bill Nye, of course.
Right.
He was big in our generation. And then they
Mr. Wizard. Mr. Wizard World on Nickelodeon.
Oh my gosh.
Ron Herbert? Don Herbert?
I don't remember names.
Don Hubbard?
I do not remember names.
What was funny, though, is that if you watch it now, if you watch the old 80s episodes, not like when he was doing it in like the 60s and they were in black and white. No, when he was in his house, and they would come in through the kitchen door, and they'd be like, "Hi, Mr. Wizard. Hi, good to have you over," kind of thing. And you could tell when he was getting miffed with the kids, because he would be like short with them, but
Mm-hmm.
not nasty, but he would get short with them. He's like, "Yeah, no." I
And
used to
one show I
love
used to
watching that.
watch that wasn't educational. It was kind of educational. He was a Louisiana cook, an old white guy, and he would always be, whenever he used alcohol to cook with, some went in the food and majority went back in his, yeah. And his thing was always, I guarantee. I can't think of his name, but I used to love that. I don't know why,
Was it that the
because I had,
bourbon chef?
I don't remember that much.
Well, there was one. I think it was the
Justin
gourmet
something.
chef, and then I think if there was one that was like the bourbon chef or something like that. That could have been it. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I used to love watching PBS stuff. 3-2-1 Contact, and
This old house.
my dad was huge on that, and the Victory Garden, and Mystery, and Doctor Who. Gotta love Tom Baker. I was a Tom Baker guy, because he had that crazy fedora, that really wild hair, and that scarf that went on for days.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
you need to do a Tunisian one of those.
I do have one planned,
Good.
and I have one planned for, well, that won't get me in trouble, tutorial wise, for all the different HP houses.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Well, I mean, you could just do color combinations.
yeah, just where I don't. Justin Wilson was that chef's name.
Okay, I think I remember. Yeah. Well,
Pretty much.
actually, all of the various seasons were different patterns for Doctor Who, because he kept destroying them. And I think it's called like Witty Little Knitter .net or something like that. It has like diagrams of all the different color palettes for all the different seasons where he had a different scarf.
Kind of mix them. Ooh.
Well, he some of them, it was like a pastiche of like one scarf, and then they like added to another scarf because he would like rip it or destroy it or whatever, and then they like patched it with like more added onto it or whatever. And then the last one, I think it was called an episode called Shada, or Shada, and that one was a completely different color scheme. It was more purpley, but
'Cause, yeah, that would be. I just got to get the right colors. That's not hard to do.
well, for the earlier seasons, all of the colors that I found that worked perfectly together, Vanna's Choice. There was like a cranberry, an eggplant, a mustard, a sage, a taupe, a charcoal, and they all worked together perfectly. The only thing I didn't do was I didn't do as many rows, because I didn't want it to be 12 feet long and 4 feet wide. So instead of doing like 80 stitches wide, I only did like maybe like 30 or 40 stitches wide. And instead of that many rows, I did that many ridges. So I decreased it by half, and the ratio totally worked out.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause most of my scarves, I usually, well, it's over there. They're roughly 20, 25 stitches wide. They, and then it's 6 feet long. That's
Mm.
just about the standard size.
Yeah,
And
me
and
too. Like, like 6 or 7 feet long. It's like enough where if you fold it in half, and then on the fold, you then take the tails and then put it through the loop, and
yeah,
it goes to about your waist. I'm happy.
yeah, and
Like skinny scarves that are like, 5 inches wide. And it's like, what are you going to do with that? No, I want something to keep me warm,
ace bandage it. Not even as wide as an ace bandage.
you know?
I mean, I get for the dainty. Like, there's a scarf that I've been working on that I call it my palette cleanser. Ooh, I gotta watch it. I forgot I took the cable off. It was getting in my way up here. I'm using. Woo.
Mm,
It's
that's really pretty.
a hobby. Sorry, twister, and it is. I think it's a 2/8. Yeah, and I only got like 2 rows up here, so it's not going to show across camera. But I'm doing the smock stitch. I was like, well, let me. It's my palette cleanser, is what I call it. So when I get annoyed with the project, or I'm getting like, because about 75 to 80% into a project, I start getting bored with it. So I create palette cleanser. That's a palette cleanser, and then I'm working on my next project. So I'll work on that, and but I can't. And then whenever I get tired of that, it's like, all right, let's get back to this,
Hmm.
the main project.
No, I totally understand. The project that I'm working on with the yarn that I got from Russ's Christmas in July box,
Mm-hmm.
that's sort of like my palette cleanser because it requires absolutely no thought at all. It's total autopilot, and
Yeah.
the only thing is me changing the colors because there's a lot of colors to work with. So it's like, okay, have I gotten to a certain point? Yes. Okay, I'll change the color here and then just keep going on autopilot. I don't have to think about it. It's a lot of work, but it is completely mindless, in the aspect of like I don't have to think about what stitch I'm doing. It's just,
Yeah.
after the third stitch, just go on autopilot. It's no problem.
Well, I know like Panda when he starts getting frustrated because these Panda blankets. He did a white and black one, and then this was the second one. These were his first times doing color changing or graph scans. So he's up in the game right now on another blanket, another pattern we did, and it requires a lot of color change. So when he starts getting to where he needs to palette cleanse, he's been making just bunnies.
Well,
We
because you're
got
no bunny till somebody loves you.
him. Yep.
You got a bunny too?
She made me a horse.
Oh,
Yeah,
so cute. I love his little poochy tummy.
I do too.
Now, is that from Edward's Imaginarium?
Miss C.
Okay. No, because there's the Poochie belly with sort of like a teardrop shaped body. Um, it's there's a series of books, and it's like Edward's this, Edward's that.
Hmm.
The Edward's Imaginarium, actually, that's more like creature building. Um, like different things like that. But there's also like one that's like dogs, another one that's birds, another one that's people. Um,
Okay,
Great instructions.
Michi
Well,
saying yes, she uses that book.
um, great instructions, except for one thing. One criticism for those books is that, like when doing a limb, instead of starting at the tip and then increasing and then working your way down, what she does is she starts with a ring and then stitches X number of rounds and then closes up at the top, which to me doesn't make any sense because when you're making a tube, if you stuff it as you go, it's a lot easier.
See, I've never made an amigurumi.
You will, you will, at least I hope you will,
Oh, I
because it's a lot of fun.
that'd
Because
be a
once you
good
get
palate
down the
cleanser again.
concept, well, once you get down the concept of that amigurumi is essentially two things. It is spheres and tubes, and how you manipulate increases and decreases to change the shape of those spheres and tubes. That's all you need to know, really. If you can crochet in the round, if you can do increases and decreases, you got it. That's the
Well,
basis of amigurumi.
I know Miss C. She adapted because she didn't like some things about the pattern, from what I understand, and she adapted like how she does the feet
Hmm.
and how she because there's some and she changes them up per bunny. So each bunny is different. and she kind of tailors them to the person she's giving them to, and they're great. There was something else I was going to ask. I don't
Did you have
remember what now.
another giveaway? You said around 50?
Oh, I do. Forgot about
Sorry.
that too. No, you're fine. Let's see,
I
share
know this is
screen.
your show. I'm just trying to help.
No, you're fine, man. Make sure everything is good. There we go. Share screen. And we're going for the last box. Ooh, that felt weird. And I've already got it pulled up, refreshed. Get the comments. And everything's good. And we're going to pick the next winner. Don P. Meemaw Don
Congratulations,
P.
Don.
All right, I had to write that down. I don't think she's in the chat, but I have her phone number. I can text her. There we go. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my screens back up.
You're fine.
I like to have, I got streamyard on this monitor, and then I like to have the actual live over here, just because there's a little bit of a delay, and I can see what's all up. But congratulations, Don P. If you're watching the live or the replay, just email me. If not, I'll text you and go from there. I have her phone number. But so when you're making your projects,
Yes.
What is your inspiration? Do you just get inspired by, like, for me, my inspiration comes from historical items, historical pictures, historical people. And I just see something and I'm like, oh my gosh. Then it just starts working up in my head.
My inspiration. Well, nature. Because there's so much in nature that works based on multiples. Like the way a spider's web, radiates outwards. I'm talking about like the orb weaver web. It's like you start off with X number of strands, and then it just keeps going, and radiates outward. Or the way that the veins radiate out from the stem of a leaf, or and then the different shapes involved as well. Flower petals, that sort of thing. And I'm not totally hippy dippy, but it's like, hey, no, just how, or a snail shell. Because the snail shell works based off of the golden rectangle spiral kind of thing. Like there's mathematics in nature, like to a fault. Like you wouldn't think that there is, but no, there is, and it's fascinating. So things that are organic also have an interesting ordered system about them, which I find fascinating. Geometry. Geometry was the only thing I was good at in math. The only thing. Once I got into symbolic logic and algebra and that sort of thing, no. But if it could be graphed and you got angles and stuff like that, that made sense to me. And as much as I loathe math, I hate it. I work with it now more than I ever did, as irony would have it. As far as things that are multiples and divisors or dividends or whatever, and factors and this, that, and the other, it's like, okay, I need to get here. So how do I get from here to here? Okay, well, if you do X number of multiples and then you increase at this rate, you can get to that angular shape that you're going for. So I would say, inspiration from, geometry and nature would be like my two big things.
Well, see, like for me, like I said, it's historical stuff. Like I've seen patterns that I have seen on tiled floors that they're uncovering outside of Greece or Rome that's under 12 feet of dirt. That
Hmm.
I see those and I'm like, oh my gosh, or they discover some old clothing from even the 1500s and I'm like, oh my gosh,
See, that
that
that's
would
the
look
sort of thing,
good.
like the floor tiles that you were just mentioning. That actually, that is the sort of thing that inspires me in regard to my fillet work,
Mm,
because it's a very geometric oriented kind of thing, and less is more with fillet work. Because if there's a ton of detail, well, then you've got to scale it up to a huge degree.
yeah,
Otherwise, all that detail gets lost. So you need something that's simple, but also in a grid work that's sort of like a binary, open and closed boxes. And so, like when I was doing a fillet work that was like a herringbone type pattern, which later I then did in a knitting pattern, but I did that for a fillet pattern, and I was like, this just clicks. It makes sense because a lot of people are also familiar with it because it's something that you see and you're like,
hmm
oh, herringbone, or houndstooth, or there's or like a honeycomb type thing.
yeah,
I mean, again, honeycomb, it exists in nature. you know
yeah.
Bees are fascinating little creatures.
Yes, they are. And there's several things I would use the honeycomb for, and I like to play with the color variations. So you get certain parts to pop and other parts to be subtle and hidden. And I love that with the honeycomb. And even with the alpine, I like being able to do that. I mean, I've got a lot of yarn. I do over here. And some of it's already like earmarked where it's going to be. But some of it's like I'm waiting for it to tell me what it wants to be. I have a huge list of all my ideas. I mean, I've told you some, and it's just my mind just does not shut off,
Hmm.
and it's just
You're preaching to the choir, honey bunny. I get it. Well, because also it's funny when whenever I'm wanting to do a new project, this happens a lot where I start the project and I'm like, I like the project, I hate the yarn because it's just it doesn't click. It doesn't. So I
yeah.
totally understand. Like sometimes I will start a project half a dozen times before I'm like, ooh, this yarn and this project, they speak to me,
Mm.
you
Well,
know?
I, I don't have a problem with yarn yet because all of it I've really used in the past 4 years has been Big Twist. I am that's my addiction is Big Twist. The Lucky brand is the non first non Big Twist I've used. I'm not a fan of it, but the look is good.
See, I'm not familiar with Lucky Brand. When you said Lucky Brand earlier in a text, I thought, did he do a typo and did he mean Lion Brand? Because I've never heard of Lucky Brand. I don't think I have. No, that definitely says Lucky.
And it is a light 3 weight, and it's only sold at Joann's. And it's soft. Don't get me wrong, but I don't like it because I'm four
Well, you
weight
like
is
the
my
thicker
go-to.
stuff, don't you?
Oh yeah, I like the 4 weight.
Yeah.
That's my always my go-to. But I know with wearables, they've got to be lighter.
Yeah, like right now I'm using this is the mandala, and this is a 3 weight. And then another project that I'm doing, this is grab a thread edge here. This is also a 3 weight. This is the ice cream big scoops, another 3 weight.
Mm.
See, the thing is with 3 weights, not all the time, but a lot of the time, you get the yardage. You really get a lot more yardage. The thinner it is, the more yardage you get generally. And
Well,
the thicker it is, the less yardage you get.
for the
Irony.
shirt, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5 skeins or cakes of just the Dijon color, which is the main color of the shirt. I mean, that's Tunisian. But if I did it in regular crochet, it'd use half of this.
Right. Well, the thing with Tunisian, it's very substantial.
Yes. And this stitch that I chose, there's only one other tutorial that I've looked out there for before I picked the stitch, because I wanted to make sure it's not a widely used stitch before I picked it, decide on it. The stitch I decided to use, though, is a yarn eater stitch, which I knew that just because I just knew that. And I didn't expect to go through 6, though. But it is what it is. I had 12 just to be on the safe side. I always buy a heck of a lot more than I need, especially with Tunisian. If I know I'm going to go through 8 in Tunisian, I still buy 12.
Well, you know what? Exactly. I mean, you do sound like Russ, but love you, Russ. No, I'm the same way, because I would much rather buy more than I think I'm going to need. And not have to go out and get more. And then if I have extra, I just use it for something else. It's like I have like 2 left. Okay, I'll make a hat and a scarf. Hey.
Or sometimes if it shows up really well on camera, I'll just use that for some tutorials, stitch tutorials. Because it's hard to find a yarn color that shows up good with the camera. But you just don't want to be one of those, okay, gray shows up good. Well, I'm not going to use gray for everything, because sometimes gray hides a definition. Right.
No, I understand. Like, I was doing, it was, the last time I had that problem, it was the corner-to-corner kaleidoscope, where I had to use, it was a dark charcoal gray. It was almost black on camera. And I tried to use it as little as possible, but I'm like, listen, we're just going to bear with it. We're going to forge ahead. I apologize in advance, but I'm using that color on this blanket, so that's what we're using. There have also been instances where I wanted to use a certain color, but I didn't, because it totally like blows out the camera. It is I think it's like cherry red of Lion Brand's Pound of Love. It's a bright red, and it's so hot color-wise on the camera that you can't see anything else. It's hard to describe.
I've got a yellow like that it looks pretty in your hands. You put it under the camera, it looks like a light bulb turned on.
Yeah, and I understand entirely.
And I try to mute it. No, nothing. I'm like, well, that one can't be used.
Yeah, the camera is a cruel mistress.
Right.
Very cruel mistress. But yeah, I have had that problem myself, and I totally understand what it is that you're talking about, And
then you're like, I'm going to try some variegated yarn. Nope. There could be a color in that variegated yarn that just doesn't work well. And it's like, well, what the heck? So I got to where I kind of figured out what kind of colors work with mine. So I have to alternate those colors.
See, like the panda behind you, I mean, I love the detailing, but I would love it even more if it was, no offense whatsoever, this is just my personal taste, if it was more of like a pumpkin, the
darker orange,
like a darker orange, because I love the autumn colors. I'm a total freak for the autumn colors. I mean, like right now, this is literally one of the projects that I'm working with, like a burnt rusty orange color. And I mean, that one, you could like signal planes with that. It's awesome.
This is the orange that we both love. That's the color orange.
Well, is that a sports team orange?
It's called orange.
Well, no, I mean, like, I think it's like the Chicago Bears. I think it's like orange and blue, and then you've got the New York Mets, which is orange and blue.
Oh, just orange and blue are just our favorite colors.
Okay, no, I'm not being disparaging, but like there are certain like shades of orange and certain shades of blue, and that's like a team color thing. Not like I know anything about teams or sports or anything like that. It's a very, very cursory.
I don't watch that stuff. I don't watch that stuff. They get paid too much.
Never got into it.
Me neither. But I believe it's a Big Twist, because that's really all. I got him hooked on Big Twist. And Well, that Panda is colorblind,
Okay.
so it's orange and blue are about the. He can see those colors really well,
Well, they're polar opposites, so yeah.
and well, like when he first met me, almost my entire wardrobe, everything was orange. I had the Fossil watches that had the orange face. I forgot what the line was called, but you name it, almost everything was orange. And I have
There are
two.
worse things. I mean, like with me, it's like, green or gray or brown, I'm very muted. It's like I'm trying to hide in an orchard or something.
But I just love blue or orange and blue together. I think orange and blue together just they go well. People always it's sports related or UT is like that's the wrong orange. you know.
Well, I
It-
didn't mean to hit a spot with
no,
you,
no, you
sorry.
didn't. You didn't. You didn't. But
Because like if you wear anything that's like, like gold and red, it's like, oh, you're Gryffindor.
right.
You know, um, me personally, I think I out of the characteristics of the different houses, I would say I'm like a Ravenclaw.
I I have no
Definitely
idea.
not
I wouldn't know.
Slytherin. I'm not
No,
as
yeah.
brave or dashing and daring as a Gryffindor, but I think I'm more like bookish.
I wouldn't know. I'd say more Hufflepuff for me. Yeah, I think I'd be more Hufflepuff. But we talked about before we got off that little orange tangent
Sorry.
about yeah. Uh, my next go thing, wearable. Well, one that I have planned. I can't say next.
Yes.
I keep getting in trouble for saying next thing, and then yes. Anyway, I've got the Premier Gradients and the cake. I want to turn those into. I don't know if you remember, like the late '80s, early '90s. We had these silky looking shirts that started out as a dark color at the bottom and then they faded up into a lighter color.
Yeah, they were
Well,
ombre.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I want to turn these great. Their everyday. What are they? Yeah, the Premier anti-peeling gradient into is do a shirt like that.
See, at first I thought you were talking about when we were kids, there was a shirt, they were called Hypercolor. And it was a heat sensitive fabric.
Oh, I remember those.
They were so expensive.
Oh
And
my
I had one
gosh.
that was purple that became pink if the temperature was hot. So of course, under your armpits always turned pink first, you know. Um, and you could never put it in the dryer, otherwise you would kill the fabric. And of course, mine ended up going in the dryer at one point and just killed it. But yeah, there were these ridiculously expensive fabrics that were heat sensitive. They even have yarn like that, something I've never tried. But I know that they have like light sensitive and heat sensitive yarn that will change color if it's out in the sunlight or if it gets
Mm.
warm or whatever. I've never tried those yarns. I've heard very
Oh,
mixed reviews, like the color changing one that was just like it was like stanky or something. Yeah,
oh.
yeah. I think
I'm one of those
that
that like watching like Crystal or Bag a Day and or Infinitely Zero Nessa. She knows her stuff on yarn. Like you tell her you're looking for a certain color, within a minute or two, she'll have like 7 sites ready. She's like, "All right, how about this one? That one or that one?" She knows her stuff, but they smell their yarns. They got me into smelling my yarn.
I just do
Because
the cheek test.
the who?
The cheek test.
Oh, see,
You know,
I
the
don't.
like,
Oh yeah, the softness.
it's like don't squeeze the Charmin. Is it snugly soft? You know, but with a lot of the acrylics, it's like no, it's not cheek worthy. But if it's like an Angora or an alpaca or a merino, it's like you got to do the cheek test. Got to do it.
Well, see,
It's a guilty pleasure. You would break out, but you got to do the cheek test.
well, it's like I have like I've never done that. I always touch it with my hands because because there's some labels that don't tell you what's in it.
Yeah.
You know, and if I can feel the itch or feel the when I touch it, and if I can feel the barbs right away, then I can scrub my hands and I can stop the reaction. But if I'm doing this, we're going to the emergency room, baby.
I don't have any allergic reactions to wool or anything like that. The lanolin and all that, it really doesn't bother me. You know, as long as somebody doesn't like spin cat fur, I'm fine.
That'd be,
you know, cats and dogs. And it's like, yes, I've got a Shih Tzu that, you know, went into this yarn, literally. You know, like, oh dear. Oh, Shih Tzu.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
Oh, cockerpoodle. But you know, you can spin animal hair.
Their own hair or their own real hair, and I'm like, what? You get a haircut. What's the first thing you do after you get a haircut? You take a shower because it's poking you. Your hair? No, no, thank you. But I know that's what they used to do back then too. You know, but
well, I mean, also hair rings were very popular back in the day. Making a ring out of human hair as a memento, you know, a keepsake, that was very popular. And also, those are still around because they really don't biodegrade like a lot of things. You know, they're just dead cells. They just stick around. And so, yeah, there are some really, really old ones that are still around. Interesting stuff.
Well, I saw a plaque. I want to say it was like a few days ago, before I got sick. Before it kicked my butt, I should say. It was on a history subreddit on Reddit. And it had the first 12 presidents. It had locks of hair from the first 12 presidents. And I'm just like, okay, well, first off, that's creepy. They had it in their own... in a private home. I'm like, that's creepy. And kind of cool too. But it's just...
But yeah, I mean, people do it with their babies all the time.
Yeah.
You know? Why should they be any different? You know?
But, well, we're going to have to end it because my legs are telling me, Michael, I need to get up and walk. That's why I don't really I can't do too long. Or like worries. when you see me with on Russ, about every hour to hour, 15, 20 minutes, my screen goes black because I have to get up and walk.
No worries.
But stay on because somebody wants to say hi.
Okay.
But I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you all for just being you. And Michi and everybody, and Michi, Sam, Nadi, Nancy, and Nancy Mack, Marianne, and Denise. Thank you all for joining and gifting memberships or giving me super. I really do appreciate that. And I'm glad you all enjoyed the special guest.
And I want to thank you for having me on. It was delightful. Thank you.
I love having you on.
Well, I hope that this is the first of many because you are so much fun and I love chatting with you. And, you know, I'm more than happy to join in.
Well, thank you for being here again.
Well,
and
thank you.
You all have a safe night. And I will see y'all, I believe the 5th of September is when I have my next live. I will see you then. So keep stitching, folks. Oh,
bye, everybody. Stay stitching.